Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Language of Leadership. I'm your host, Chuck Marting, and today I have a special guest with me, Michal Stawicki. He is a member of the ISI, or Iron Sharpens Iron Mastermind. And I've had a couple interactions with him on calls that we have been on and felt that he would be an awesome guest to have on the show. So I'm glad that you reached out, Michael, and we were able to connect and to have you here on the language of leadership. So thank you for being here.
You're most welcome, Chuck. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. You have a website called expandbeyondyourself.com, and you're a pretty well accomplished publisher or a author of golly, how many books?
19.
How many?
19.
Holy cow. And I'm struggling just to try and figure out how to write one book. That's amazing. You have a
Well,
very,
the struggle is the biggest at the first book.
yeah, yeah. There's so many different things. And I felt with your background, the things that you do, that it would be appropriate to have you on as a guest to talk about leadership and some of the things that you have found that can help us in becoming better leaders and to lead better. So with that, I want to have you go ahead and just give a short introduction to yourself, and if we can talk about that, that would be great.
Well, I'm Michal Stawicki, live in Poland, 44 years old, over 20 years married, 3 kids. I quit my day job in PricewaterhouseCoopers last year, and I'm full-time author, coach, and I have my book advertising business where we advertise books for other authors on Amazon.
Wow. So there's a lot of different things there. How have you been able to, I guess with you being in Poland, being in a foreign country, and then interacting with a lot of the men that are on ISI and other people, have you found that leadership, some of the things that people say about leadership or how you should develop your abilities and your capabilities of leading, are they similar to what we have here in the United States and what you've experienced in Europe?
Yeah, I think they are very similar, pretty universal. Like it's always kind of surprise for Westerners that we are actually in the Western Hemisphere. We are in this culture. We have a lot of influence from the East, but
Hmm.
still we are firmly Western mindset, other than maybe a specific Polish mindset which comes from the history. But yeah, it's pretty universal.
Is it something?
It comes down to uh, say what you think, do what you say. Like it's always the same in every language, in every nation, because if you do not stick to that, then whole leadership is really a facade. It's not something authentic, and you cannot lead because your people see right through you always and everywhere, and that's why really to lead people you need to uh, be a man of integrity, and that's the most important thing.
Character is a very big thing, I feel. Uh, I just got done doing another podcast with a guest, and that was one of the things that she had explained to me well is that your character, your word, and how you conduct yourself are very important, especially when you're dealing with team members who see you and they watch you. And then at some point they emulate or they do the things that you do because that appears to be the right thing to do. Um, One of the books that you have is The Art of Persistence. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about that, or whatever else you feel with leadership would be helpful to us, because I one of the things that I've seen is with my business in dealing with clients, I deal with a lot of leaders, and those leaders sometimes feel lost. There's sometimes they were the employee, and then they were promoted, and they were a very good employee, and now they're a leader, and they kind of get dropped into that position without any experience, any training, or never having to lead people. And they encounter a lot of different difficulties, like the loneliness of being a leader, not knowing where to turn, where to find help, how to develop the skills to be a good leader, like communication, being able to um, be able to communicate and talk to people, and being an example, or things that a lot of leaders worry about. And sometimes they don't come across the way they should. What do you feel, in your experience and what you've seen, would help a leader in developing skills when they first get made a leader? Or what would you do to be a better leader if you were put into that position?
Well, I put myself in that position. I founded my own company. I now have a small team I'm leading, and that's actually I just got coaching accreditation this week.
Oh,
So it's, you know, talking one-on-one with another person, and this is what they pay me for. And my wife was talking with her cousin that, like, how come Michal, if he was always, behind the computer screen, and that was where he was happy, the introvert, and now people pay him for talking with him. Come on, that's unimaginable, yeah. So uh yeah, one thing is yes, you can develop yourself. That's absolutely true. It's not that okay, you were promoted, so it's new world, and you are skilled. Not really. You can develop yourself and grow up to this position. Yeah, and I think that's a big component of being a leader, personal development. Right after my coaching training, my mastermind buddy asked me, okay, what does it mean to be a better coach? And I was, yeah, I don't really think that's even a right question, because in coaching, focus shouldn't be on me, but on the client.
mm,
I asked my mentor, and she said, well, like personal development, that's the key. And then it was a light bulb moment for me, because I work on my personal development for years. That's why I was a decent coach from day one, because I had it really. I work on that unknowingly. And you also mentioned art of persistence, and in leadership, especially communication, is a lot of art of persistence. I remember Dave Ramsey talking on his podcast that only when you are sick of repeating the same thing for the thousandth time, okay, you probably are doing it right. Yeah, that's when they hear it for the first time. So repetition, repetition, and repetition. So consistency, and um, on the example of my business, I try to run it according to business on purpose principles. Shout out to Scott Wiebe, also from ISI.
mm,
And he put systems into everything in the business. And one of the systems are weekly meetings. Weekly meetings on which one of the question is always, okay, how are you seeing us live out our mission, vision, values? So every week we go back to our vision, mission, values, and not in some theoretical way, but how you see us living it out.
Mm.
this week, the interaction we had, the job you've done, and so on. And that's repetition. And that's after a year, people can know the values of the business by heart. And more importantly, they don't just know it, they live by it. So this is how you really build culture, and this is how you lead, because leading is in the end, I think, building a culture. Because otherwise it's like you are this giant and everybody follows you. No, that's not really a reality for 99.99 people on this plane. Yeah, there are some giants among us. I'm not one of them, and most of us aren't. So we better muster up some support from our team. And this is the way you get it, by communicating what we are about, what we want to achieve, and then repeating it regularly. Uh, that's it.
There's a couple things that you had mentioned in there that I feel um, are worth exploring a little bit more. You talked about your mission values. How do you develop that? How do you set your values in your mission for that?
Yeah. So in Business on Purpose, they teach us to start from that. And actually, I was building my business from scratch. So I maybe not started from that. I was already serving a couple of customers when I started working on my vision, but it was close to it. It's so much easier at the beginning than when you have a team of 100 people and already established ways and actually established culture. Uh, and I heard great definition of your culture, what people think of your company on a Sunday evening, thinking that they are going to work tomorrow. That's your culture.
Yeah.
Uh, so, so when you start at the beginning, you have like you explore within yourself, and maybe with the realm of experiences you had up to date with your customers. So, how would you like this business to fit your life, your lifestyle, your family, spare time, serving your God, and everything else between. So it takes some time. It's not that, you will got this light from above and you will just write it out in 10 minutes. Nope. You need to work on it, ponder this, reflect upon it. Actually, it takes me back to the moment when I started to turning my life around in 2012. And one of the early stages was writing my personal mission statement. And it took me a whole month, more than a month, of just pondering, asking myself questions, doing some mental exercises, writing down what I imagined, and then chiseling out what was superficial, unnecessary. That's the process. So, uh, like Stephen Covey said in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, start with the end in mind,
Mm.
and then you can go in that direction. But if you do not have this end, you just wander around. So your culture will be random. Okay, some characteristics of you, some characteristics of your first few employees, and how you do things, and that's it. So in order to really uh, hammer in the values into your business, it's really to have the clear vision. Okay, what's the business is about? How do we serve our customers, our employees, and the whole community? So that's the vision. From vision, you condense it to mission, which is we do this so they can do that. Yeah. So, for example, in my business resurrecting books, uh, we make dreams closer to reality for
Mm,
everybody involved. My team, the authors, even the readers who find the books and like they find it on some purpose. They want knowledge or entertainment. Uh, so that's our mission. Uh, this whole vision condensed to one sentence, so the world can know what we are about. And there is very, very smart, I would say, exercise to condense your values from your vision, because this is how they uh, taught us in Business on Purpose. You read through your vision story, and then you underline things that just catch your attention, this and that, and then you may create cloud words and see what sticks out, what's like the common uh, denominator for
hmm
those fragments, and then you can condense uh, them to few specific values. And also, like values can be, uh, very short and obvious, like trust. But then, what does trust mean in implementing of your business? In my business, it means we have no contracts with our customers. I don't have contracts with my employees.
Oh,
Everything is on the handshake on the word because I need that level of trust uh, in my business. When I had been starting, I was the one man army. I CEO, chief everything officer. I had to do everything. So like doing some paperwork was one additional thing I had no time and energy for. And if you cannot trust me, we shouldn't do business. That's my approach, and it serves me even better when we grow.
hmm
Uh, so yeah, this is the uh, process I recommend. You write your vision story, and you don't have to write it in one sitting. It can be a month in doing, because you need to figure out all the aspects, yeah, how you interact with your customers, what products you offer, how big is your team, and how do you work? Is it remote or local? And you think everything through and put it on paper. And once it's ready, then you read through it once again and underline those things which really uh, speak to you. And then from them, like take them away, and you will see the picture. Okay, this is this value, that value. I really want to uh, emphasize this in my business, and they become your core values upon which you base your business and the way you operate.
It's interesting that you say that because I think a lot of times people feel that they have to do something like right now. It has to be done right now. But then what what you're saying is, you know, it may take time to develop that and to let it
It's
happen.
a function of clarity. I
Mm.
remember reading in the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People a story of the guy, I couldn't spell his name, but he hammered out his personal mission statement in the flight from States to Hawaii. So 3, 4 hours, and bam, he had it in one sentence. My personal mission statement was over 1,000 words long because
Wow.
my life was a mess. So I had very little clarity. So that's the function of clarity, because if you are in your business for a decade and you've had your battles and you know who are the worst customers, who are the best ones, it will be easy for you to create a vision. Uh, but if you just work to get by, didn't put much intentionality into what you are doing, then yeah, of course, it will take some time.
How do you prioritize those things? Because I can see as I'm trying to develop that, thinking of different aspects of being a leader and how all those things are important to me, but I'm going to have to prioritize that and figure out what are the most important for me to place in my mission statement. And if you're developing that mission statement, is that something that you can change? Is it something that changes as you grow as a leader?
Uh, Change is, I would say, too big word, but you can modify it. That's for sure.
Okay, modify
Like
it.
you
Yeah.
outgrow some things, you add some things, you achieve some things, and it's like, yeah, like I could cross it off. Like it's already done, so shouldn't be part of the vision. It's obvious.
So you can
Uh,
make
and
adjustments as you grow.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes it's like I was starting from this point of lack of clarity. Then whatever happens to get into your vision story, into your core values, it may be some, external influence you are not aware of. But then after working with it for some time, several months, a year, you just feel inside, okay, that's just not sitting right within me. So you just expel it because in the end, it's like, okay, I wanted to uh, shine brightly in front of others, for example. Yeah, so that was vanity instead of uh, the point of service approach of service. So, oh no, I don't really want that. Uh, but only with practice you can verify that. You ask about prioritization of this work.
Hmm.
Uh, it's like with personal development. Many people think it is like a nice to have thing. No, it's the fierce thing to have, especially if you are a leader. Because, like I was talking about coaching and uh, becoming a better coach, uh, it depends on my personal development. If I do not prioritize this, it won't happen on its own. If you do not prioritize your vision, mission, values, they will not materialize in your Word document one day. Not gonna to happen. Amen. And they are so important that if you have no time, you should just get a vacation 1 2 days and think only on that, so you have some basis. Uh, yeah, this is so important. And then uh, along the way, it's like I'm also a business coach, and I
Hmm.
see a lot of, even because I'm coaching mostly solopreneurs, even at this solopreneurship level, people are so busy they have no time to think, no time to reflect, to ponder,
Oh,
to wonder what are their values,
yeah.
what is the mission of it. So and like I see the biggest value of my coaching in the fact that I'm creating the space for them to think for 1 hour a week. That's all they need really to straighten out their businesses. But on their own, they won't do it. So that may be like the ultimate hack to hire someone. So you have 1 hour a week to think over your business.
It's funny because I think that sometimes as a leader, we're trying to help people have that time of reflection and to be able to develop themselves, but we're the we're the ones that need it the most, and we don't take advantage of it. Um, you talked about self-talk. How important is self-talk when you're going through these processes and learning to be a leader?
Self-talk is a very complicated subject. Like everybody has their own self-talk, and it's usually the function of how you were raised up. Uh, so just your history, and your history is like an echo in your head. Uh, so most of the time, especially in the example you instance being promoted, yeah. So that wasn't your reality, now it is,
Yeah.
and your self-talk is so much different than it should be. Yeah. So it's a complicated topic. It's really a bit how human mind operates, because, as I said, everybody talks to themselves, and most of us uh, talk to ourselves so harshly that it's just unspeakable. We wouldn't say that to anybody on the planet, but we are talking this to ourselves.
For our worst critic.
And I was the victim of that.
Yeah.
I wrote the whole book, Power Up Your Self-Talk, because I just reverse engineered what I did to improve my self-talk, to change myself. And in the end, I would say the change in your self-talk is based on the change of your shift of your identity. Yeah. So yeah, you must embrace that. Okay, now you are a leader, and it's not a privilege. Uh, it's not luck. It's just who you are, and period. So, like, for example, beating yourself up has no place. Like, this is so common and so stupid,
Mm.
because in the end, we are the ones responsible for our lives. And by beating yourself up, you are beating the only person who can help you get out of this situation. It's brainless, but we do it all the time. And in my book, I recommended a few things, and most of them start on the awareness level, mindfulness, because self-talk is mostly automatic, and we are pretty hopeless when it comes to dealing with autopilot. So what you need actually in the first place is this uh, space between the impulse and the stimulus and your action. And to create this, like meditation, prayer, reflection, time in nature, all that kind of things. Uh, this is where you really can, uh, mindfulness is the space when you can grow your self-awareness, the self-awareness in this positive sense, not that you feel observed by everyone and feel like a teenager who is very self-conscious about all the actions. Nope. It's about being positively self-aware. So, okay, what I've just done, that's not so useful. Okay, let's change it the next time, or let's apologize this person or whatever else. Yeah, because you can catch yourself on the moment. I remember Pat Flynn telling about this when he started to practice meditation.
Mm.
And he was like, and then several hours later in the day, I can catch myself reaching out, my hand reaches out to mouse to move to another window. And I'm like, what's going on? It's like it has its own life. But he could notice that because he trained mindfulness.
Yeah. Being aware. I think that is something that is a skill to be developed over time. It's not something immediately. I know that I've personally had, they call it monkey mind, where you have all these different things coming in and you're trying to focus and to do those things, and it can be very challenging. At least it has been for me. So I understand that. What do you do to keep motivated and to keep yourself progressing? What are the things that you recommend in order to do that?
It's like Zig Ziglar said, people say motivation doesn't last. Neither does path. Yeah, so that's why we recommend it daily. And this is what I do. I have my own rituals to self-motivate myself, and I'm firmly convinced that without them, I wouldn't be so consistent, so persistent, because life gets in the way. It's not a heaven on earth; it's earth on earth, and this is not a perfect world. And there will be days when you feel like doing nothing, but still things needs to be done. So I wrote my personal mission statement, and I would say I recommend it for everybody on this planet. In the end, it's who you want to become at the end of your life. Huge vision for yourself. The like core exercise for that is imagining your funeral and writing down eulogy, what people will tell about you. Yeah, so this is how you want to end your life. And then you want to live your life so you can end it like that. So I created my personal mission statement. I repeat it every day. I created a vision board based on it. Um, watch it practically every day. Uh, I have a list of quotes that really shaped my personal philosophy, and it's I think I have like 100 or 200 quotes there. I just randomly scroll through this document and read every 10 of it on randomly, but like they remind me what's important for me. I have 4 books that influenced me very much, shaped my personal philosophy, and it was actually my, conscious decision. I read the book and I was like, whoa, that's profound. I want to live like that. And so then I read all those 4 books or 5. Well, I wouldn't say that the fifth one is really a spiritual exercise. So I'm just spiritually exercising. But the 4 books, I read just like paragraph or a page. That's all every day. And like I should know some of them by heart because I read them for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Uh, but this is again, it's reminding myself about my identity, who I want to be.
Mm.
And then because I do it in the morning, it's intentional, then I have this intention for the whole day, no matter what happens. Yeah. And when that day happens, my chances for surviving through it are higher than if I just started the day from the news or Facebook feed. Um, so starting your day intentionally and knowing really having this clarity, okay, what you are about, and reminding yourself about this. This is what motivates me, what keeps me on course.
One of the things that I recently just started to incorporate into my day, that I feel has given me more perspective and has allowed me to uh, start my day in a positive light. And I heard this from a man named Bedros Keuilian. Have you heard of Bedros?
Yes.
He he talks about starting his day, giving gratitude to 3 people, where he either emails them or he uh, texts them or makes contact with them that day and expresses his gratitude for them, regardless of whether it is being in his life, being an example, whatever the case may be. And I have found that to be a very powerful tool first thing in the morning, because it makes me sit and reflect about all the people in my life and the ones who have made an impact on me and why. And I think sometimes we don't take the opportunity to allow people to know what impact they've made in our life. We know what they've done and what they've meant to us, but sometimes we don't verbalize that to them and allow them to know that they've had that effect on us. I think that self-talk is something that's very powerful, and I think it's something that we don't take enough time to develop and to learn. And so I want to thank you for going into detail on that, because I think it's something that is very powerful as a leader, is to not only that, but to trust yourself. to know that you can make those decisions and those choices and that it can better yourself. So thank you for talking about that. That was very powerful. It was good. Um, we've been speaking for a little bit on this, but I wanted to ask you, on your business, when you are working with your employees or even your virtual assistants, we were talking before the podcast, and I have a virtual assistant too. And she is awesome. She does so many things to help with the success of the podcast and stuff. How do you take time for yourself to develop or to continue to develop the things that you do? You have many books that you've put together. Your blog posts are amazing. I've read a couple of those and scrolled through a lot of them, and there's a lot of content, a lot of valuable content that is there. And I think that that's something that we need to address too, is how do you develop or continue to develop your content, your ability to grow and to share with other people? What is your process?
Yeah, content is just uh, like one aspect. I habitualize everything. Like if I know that something is important for me, then I turn it into a habit.
Mm,
So I'm a writer, I write. Uh, Recently, I started a coaching practice. I need to find clients, so I'm active in a few entrepreneurship communities, just interacting with them on daily basis so people know who I am, and if opportunity strikes, then I can talk about myself that okay, this is what I do. Or just it may be someone else will point them out. Okay, Michal is talking about it all the time. Ask him. So if I know what's important for me, I turn it into a habit. And
hmm
so the things I told you about my morning ritual, uh, my personal mission statement, other things, I exercise every day. I study the Bible every day, pray every day, and so on. Like things which are I recognize as important in my life, I turn them into habits. So, like writing half an hour a day is part of my daily routine. Uh, like, those weekly meetings are part of my weekly routine, weekly meetings with my team, because it's important. Yeah, without those uh, touch points, they wouldn't develop this culture mindset because they wouldn't be familiar with it, and so on and so on. And there is like a whole lot to talk about when it comes to developing habits, which is really my passion. This is how I changed my life. So after the fact, I learned a lot about how to develop good habits. Uh, I recommend Tiny Habits and Atomic Habits, uh, two books which are really, really good on the subject.
So so you have a few of those books that are here. Which one would you recommend that someone start with? They go to your website or they reach out to you. Which book would you recommend to start with?
I would say those I have 19 books, and almost everyone is about something different. Some are very specific. Like I
Uh-huh.
have a book about overcoming shyness. So if you're a shy person, especially shy, talking to strangers, like this is your book. This is where you should start if it's a big struggle in life. But the universal, uh, so I recognize four books which are universal. My first book, A Personal Mission Statement, Your Roadmap to Happiness. So about how to write your personal mission statement, how to go through the process so you end up with the authentic mission, and then you just not just put it into the drawer, but really you're using it.
hmm
Art of Persistence, the art of persistence, because as I said, what's important in your life should be a habit. So should be practice over a long period of time. Also, trickle down mindset, which is how to really shape your own mindset, your personal philosophy. Because there's another uh, thing we human beings are very poor at, which is changing how we think about the world, consciously changing it. So not just random influences, but or random encounters. But okay, I read this book. It spoke to me. So how do I make it a part of my philosophy and then live by it? And the last will be the power up your self-talk, because if you deal with negative self-talk, then everything else is really a battle. So if you deal with this issue, it will be so much easier to deal with all the other things in your life.
You're exactly right. I think self-talk is one of those things that we don't take um, advantage of and realize the power that it has. And so I'm grateful that you were able to touch on that and to share that with us, because I think that it's something that people don't often think about, or they think is something that they need to do. I know that it's valuable for myself. I learned the power of self-talk and how it can affect you um, from Jack Canfield. He has a exercise called the mirror exercise, where you spend a moment, a few minutes of your time. You know, of course, you need to tell people in your house that you're going to be talking out loud to yourself so they don't think you're doing something weird in the bathroom or something. But you tell yourself, you recognize, hey, you had a great day. These are the things that you accomplished. And then talking about what you're going to do and how you're proud of yourself for, maybe not having that chocolate cake at lunch because you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to work out, that you did a good thing. Just positive self-talk to yourself. And then it sounds crazy, but the hardest and kind of the weirdest thing for me at the end is to look at yourself and tell yourself that you love yourself, you know, because it's just kind of weird. You're just like, you're not used to telling yourself, I love me, and you say, I love you. And after you do that a few times, though, it gets easier and you start getting better at recognizing. And that's how I started to develop my own self-talk, was to take that 5 or 10 minutes every night before I went to bed, and to just kind of have that review with myself, and to make sure that I was on track. And it's kind of like what you're saying, it's powerful. It's something that's going to help you, and it's going to help you grow as a leader, and to develop the tools that you will need to be successful. So thank you for that. Um, I wanted to take a moment and to recognize you, Mikhail, because I don't think enough people recognize us for the things that we're trying to accomplish. I'm doing coaching as well, and to be able to take the time to listen to somebody and to be able to find those things that they may not see themselves, um, that we can help them develop. A lot of times they have those answers, they know what the process is, but it takes somebody like yourself to be able to have the patience and the understanding to listen to somebody and to love people and to be able to help them help themselves. I think that's a powerful gift. And for you to be able to have that and to be able to share the thoughts and the things that have been successful in your life, and you've put it out to the world. I want to thank you for doing that. Because of you, my life is better, because I'm able to take these things and to internalize them and to grow because of your experiences and you taking the time to do that with everybody else. We're going to benefit for that. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Jack. You're most welcome. It was a pleasure for me, and I appreciate the honor. It's always an honor to be in front of someone else's audience and serve them. Thank you.
You know, before we close, there's one thing that I always close with our guests, and um, if you were to be here, and you were to find yourself in Colorado for some weird reason, and we were to get together and to go have lunch or just to see each other, and we were having a conversation, Mikhail, what would be the one thing that you would say to me, Chuck, you've got to read this or you need to look at this. It's going to help you in your development and to become a better leader. What would that be?
There's so many things, um, but I think I would recommend. Uh, Gosh, he changed the name of the podcast, the Good Life podcast by Brian Buffini. It was the Brian Buffini show. Uh, this guy is probably a billionaire now, and he approaches several hundred podcast episodes.
Oh, wow.
Some of them are the interviews with other folks. Some like half is what he just teaches because he's a very good public speaker as well. And there are so many lessons. I learned so much from that podcast, and some episodes I keep as reference points when I think. For example, there is one on run rest cycle because we do not take enough rest. It's so obvious, and he has the whole episode, half an hour episode about this issue, and things, basic things like kindness, like gratitude. Like he gets plenty of episodes, like the whole palette of things you need to be a good leader and a successful person. It's a great podcast. I recommend it to everyone who is committed to their own personal development. And as a leader, you have to be. That's like one of your functions.
So, well, I will make sure that we have that in our show notes for our listeners to be able to refer to, and also all your information, your website, and how to get a hold of you. Um, so I just want to thank you for being on the Language of Leadership and for giving us an insight and your thoughts on how to better develop and become better leaders. I really truly think that it's because of men and women, but men like yourself that take the time to give and to be able to share that we're able to become better leaders. So I look forward to having you on as a guest again on the Language of Leadership, and just want to thank you for being here with us today and sharing with us.
You're most welcome, Jack. Thank you.
All right. Take care.